Hi guys, welcome to another guide. Today we're breaking down the sword and shield for both PvE and PvP, but you can also use this as a reference point for the other weapons. In this guide, we're covering stats prioritization and builds, kill rotations and CC chains, PvE farming and boss hunts, PvP from 1v1s to large scale, gear progression and optimization, and advanced tips most players miss. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build your character customized for you without following a laid out path. Let's get into it. First up, stats. For most players, the best setup is the general farming build. First, max dex for higher accuracy and defense penetration so your attacks land consistently. Second, max luck to gain defense power and endurance ignore. Then put the remaining points into strength for melee attack, critical hit, and extra bag weight for longer farming sessions. The priority is dex, luck, strength. Defense specialized build. Only switch to this when you're expected to tank. First, max luck for maximum defense power. Second, max vit to increase health and improve potion recovery. Then put the remaining points into dex for some accuracy and defense penetration. Priority becomes luck, vit, dex. The offense specialized build is if you want maximum damage. First, max dex for accuracy and defense penetration. Second, max strength for melee attack and critical hits. Then put the leftover points into luck for a bit of defense. The priority is dex, strength, luck. Let's talk about all the other stats that you need. First up, for PvE. For PvE defense, you need defense power. This includes magic, melee, ranged defense, damage received decrease. This also includes monster damage reduction, damage received from monsters, all those modifiers that you need to maximize your defense. And the next one is endurance. This is what you need. If you've already maxed defense and DRD, then you can go for endurance. And then you need shield defense and shield defense damage. And lastly, you need HP and potion recovery. Now let's move on to the offense. For offense, you need attack or melee attack, accuracy so you can hit your opponents, defense penetration, damage modifiers. This also includes monster damage, all damage, critical hit damage. But critical hit damage is arguably lower on the priority list as a sword and shield. You can opt for other damage modifiers first before you focus on critical damage. Because on the last part of offense, you need critical hit, and you can't capitalize on your critical damage without having higher critical hit numbers. Now for PvP, the order changes a bit, and you add in status effect resistance and status effect hit. I'll flash the stats on the screen for a few seconds and then we'll move on. Next up, we have weapon traits. I'm gonna go over each skill and give you the use cases for each of them. First up, consecutive slash. This is typically not used in a regular skill rotation unless you wanna pull aggro from a boss. So you get this one, or you can also get this to debuff for 10% melee damage receive increase. For consecutive assault, there are three options. First is the aggro option, and this also boosts your damage by 12%. The next one is a heal. So when you cast this, it will heal you for 102% of your HP. And the next one is slow. This is more used in PvP for chasing enemies or opponents in when they're trying to run away. For your buff, there are two options. You have the damage option, which is the blitz, and the defensive option, which is endurance. Personally, most of the time I use endurance for most of the content that I do, but there are some times that I need to use blitz because the endurance uh, is overkill, right? When I'm farming lower level maps and I don't need the extra defense chance and the damage received decrease, I go for the damage, penetration, and attack. And the attack speed is also really helpful, 5%. Fatal wound or plunge in. I really don't use this a lot. I just get this for the stats. But if you want, you can use the fatal wound for 10% DRD debuff. Up to you. But I believe there are better uses for your points. Especially when you're lower level, you will really lack a lot of points for the skills that you want to use. So I would prioritize first what you need, like the buffs, the tactical command, whatever. And then we have Falling Sword. Falling Sword, you have 5 options, but I would narrow it down to 4. This is really useless, slow, only for 3 seconds, and personally, I believe that this is really not helpful much. But if we can go for stun, for PvP, you can go for this. For the HP recovery and MP recovery, this will sustain your farming. And then we have the basic attack change cancel. This will cancel all of the weapon attacks from the abilities like Weapon of Darkness, Hellfire weapon, Frost weapon. If you're struggling with enemies that are using those kinds of weapons, then you can use this to cancel them out. And then you have the expansion or the Falling Sword expansion, which removes buffs from the enemies. So let's say you're against an SNS and you want to gain the advantage by removing their debuff or removing their buffs, confidence, endurance. This will effectively remove the shield defense chance of 15% and DRD 6% once you cast the Falling Sword expansion. That's also helpful against Battle Shield when they stack a lot of not that. Iron Will, there we go. When they stack a lot of DRD, usually Battle Shields can reach up until 50% DRD just by stacking their skill buffs. Then you can cast this by the start of the fight, and then they will effectively lose the buffs for 60 seconds or 90 seconds, and you will gain the upper hand in trading. Next up, we have the Sword of Constraint. I just used 2 of this. Either this one for a shorter cooldown. This is mainly used to aggro bosses, or I can also use this if I don't want to keep resetting all of them. Then I can just use this. But this one is much better for aggro because it has 10 meters range. But for PvP, 99% of the time you're gonna use the restrain. Right? This one's pretty useless. For tactical command, you have 3 options. If you're doing content that you need accuracy, then go for the middle tree. If you need more damage, and let's say you're using Blitz Blade and you already have a lot of attack speed, then you can opt for attack power and defense penetration. I use it sometimes depending on the spot. Really, it's up to you what you think is the best combination for your other stats. If it's attack power and defense penetration, or accuracy and attack speed. This one is mainly used for tanking, PvP, bosses. This is helpful because this also gives your team or your party the same buffs that you're getting from this. So it's 80 defense power and 3% DRD. Sacred Blow. This one is a pretty strong skill. It's 275% damage modifier with 100% chance to be a critical. So this is really helpful when you're doing boss content like world bosses. You can really spike up your numbers just by casting one of these sacred blows. Let's say in a minute, you can only do one, right? But in that minute, you dealt like, I don't know, 30k damage, depending on your stats. It's a really strong skill. This one, I don't really use this much. That 5 seconds, pretty strong, I guess, if you're stacking all damage. But the 100% chance to be a critical is more reliable, I would say, because if you proc a crit, it's gonna depend on your crit damage numbers, and it's gonna be a huge boost when you have high damage numbers. This one, Sacred Blow expansion or Sacred Blow silence, is used for PvP. So we'll silence them for 5 seconds. I think this is one of the longest silence in the game. And it's AoE, so you can silence 5 people. Let's say you're playing Lord's Arena 5v5 and they're stacked together. You can use silence and it will silence all of them if they don't get resisted. And then you have this Fire and Brimstone. This is mainly used for AoE farming. This reduces the all damage by 10%, and it's gonna hit up to 5 targets. This is better to use for AoE farming than this one because it has a lower cooldown and lower MP cost. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for the weapon traits. Let's move on to the next one. Now let's talk about abilities. I have 3 main abilities that I use that are 500 or level 500. These are the Blitzblade, the Hunter, and Paladin. I'm not gonna do that, but yeah, I use Paladin. Those are for PVE. Now for PvP, I use Guardian and Slayer. I have Executioner here because I was experimenting with a friend the other day, but I use Slayer most of the time for damage. You're asking why Lightning Spirit? Because it has DRD, and we don't have a lot of crit when we're building our SNS, so critical hit damage is rarely used. And so Lightning Spirit is a better choice. It's also the same for when you're using Paladin. You can also just use this one and Hellfire, and that will make you tankier instead of just using the Fire Spirit, right? There are other classes that I'm trying, but these are the main ones that I use on a daily basis, and it's pretty I will go over when to use them later on. Well, you know what? Let's do it now, right? So for Hunter, I use this when I'm doing time-gated content like dungeons. Also, you use it for daily quests or daily missions, right? Because you need the maximum damage to make it faster. For bosses, I use Blitzblade. I just switch the quick heal over here and then get the Cutting Strike and the Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit is pretty good. It's a good synergy with your Sacred Blow because this is 100% chance to be a critical hit. So usually I just choose Fire Spirit when I'm doing Blitzblade or bosses. But if I'm doing Blitzblade, let's say right now I'm farming, right? And I need more defense than defense. So I just use this. And I can use this because you might be wondering why I'm using Blitzblade. This is because Blitzblade is the middle ground for Hunter and Paladin in my case. I still use pots with Hunter, and I don't use pots with Paladin, but it's overkill already. Like the monsters are dealing like 50 damage, like less than 100 damage, and I want to maximize my damage as much as I can so that I can kill the mobs faster, and in turn that will give me better return over time, right? Yeah, so those are the abilities that I use. You can build your own. It's really up to you. But these are the ones that I've tried and worked best for me. So you can follow them if you want. It's up to you. Next up, we have mounts. For mounts, I just use two. I don't have an offensive, like pure offensive mount like Dolphin. But I use Flamingo and Laripuga for most of the content that I do. This is rarely used anymore because I have enough accuracy, and Laripuga just gives me more damage over time compared to having more accuracy, because this is 90 accuracy, right? If you don't have the budget to buy two mounts, you can just go for Flamingo. You won't go wrong with Flamingo. This can be used in PvP and PvE. Next up, we have imprints. For imprints, Tyrannus Imprint, I would suggest you get the damage to monsters increase or the melee attack. That's for PvE, by the way. If for PvP, you want melee attack and status effect hit. As for the 4th, 8th, and 12th slots, you can get melee defense penetration. This is really the priority, but if you really can't get it, you can settle for all damage in PvP, that's fine. But if you can get a green melee defense penetration, go for it. Let me just switch back. Oh, okay. For Secretus Imprint, your main priority for PvE is damage received from monsters decrease. But if you're chasing that, you need a lot of temporal pieces to try over and over again. But if you don't have the resources, you can just go for these three defense options: melee, range, magic. Just stack whatever you can, and then for the 4th one, this is what's important, right? You stack DRD or endurance. But if you're going for endurance, make sure it's only one type of endurance, right? So let's say I want to build a set or what do you call this? A preset, right? You want to build a preset for melee mobs. So you can just build melee endurance for the 3 options here. And then if you want to build for range, you can also do that. But for general use, I would just go for damage received decrease. You can also do damage received decrease in PvP if you're doing PvP. And then for the normal stats, you can just get the status effect resistance or the pure defense stats here. Okay. Next up, we have the Callian's Imprint. This is really helpful for boosting your shield defense stats. So mainly you want the shield defense damage and shield defense chance. I was pretty lucky here. I got most of them green. So my defense chance damage or defense chance is 4.8% and my defense damage is 92. That's really a lot. So it's like negating 92 damage, final damage, right? Like you remove 92 damage from the final damage output of the enemy. You can choose attack speed or movement speed. It's up to you. I prefer attack speed because my avatar is not yet fated. Although I have a legend avatar, it's not fated yet, so I welcome any attack speed boost. For Oberon's Imprint, you have 2 options. If you want to go for the accuracy build, you can do this accuracy, and then accuracy here. If you're not lucky, just go with whatever you get. Really, what's important here is the accuracy. If you want more damage, you can get melee attack. If you want more defense, you can get defense power. And then for the 4th, 8th, and 12th slots, you can get global decrease cooldown. You can also get accuracy. If you're doing PvP, you really don't need a lot of accuracy, so you can go for potion recovery, channeling speed. Channeling speed is really good when you're in the mid game. It's just a matter of who casts the spells first, who can get off their status effect hit first. That will really determine the winner of the match, right? So those are the imprints. What else did we miss? Right. So in this next part, I'm gonna show you one of my builds for PvP. Let's go home first. Okay, we're home. So, I have two builds for PvP. I have the damage build, which is Slayer. And then I use the Laripuga. And then I use the Defense Penetration Homunculus. And then I switch my imprints to the PvP stats. Then I do I'm gonna show you my Slayer, right? This is my Slayer build. Movement speed, you really need that. Defense penetration, BRD, the install bomb. I'm planning to replace this with near escape when I have it, but for now, I'm just gonna use install bomb. That's one of my builds. That's for the DPS build. If you encounter an enemy that you can't really kite or you can't chase, that's when you use the Slayer build, so you can burst them down in a short span of time and win the match, right? Or you can just run away after you do your combo and you've already dealt damage, and then just wait for the time to expire in Lord's Arena. I'm talking about Lord's Arena. Then we have the defensive build, which is Guardian. So I'm gonna show you the full build for Guardian right now, and then we're gonna watch a match in Lord's Arena where I'll walk you through the process of my match and also my decision making. So in this build, I'm stacking endurance. That's the key point of this build. For title, I use endurance. My endurance right now is 325. Let me switch over everything. 1 second. Okay. Okay, so this is my PvP build. And as you can see, I have a lot of armor sets, right? It depends who I'm fighting. These are really cheap in the next market. You can buy a full set of leather parts for I think 300 or 400 pesos, or in dollars, I think that's, let me check. 400 HP to, so you can get the set for around $6, right? Really cheap. And it's already perfect stats. I'm usually looking for endurance in PvP and FDRD. And then the refinement option is endurance. Right now my endurance is 325. We have a lot of melee range magic endurance and also endurance in PvP. My damage received decrease in PvP is 25%, but that will also increase later once we get the buff from Guardian, and also our DRD will increase once we use this buff. My DRD I think sits around almost 30% when I have full buffs on. And my shield defense chance is around 20%, 29%, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so let's move on to the match. Alright, so this is one of my matches in Lord's Arena. I'm against Battle Shield, so we'll be using the Falling Sword expansion to remove his buff and trade better. So to start here, I switched my armors to plate, whatever I had that can be used to mitigate his damage. I used it. And then I popped my elixir just so I can get off my Falling Sword expansion and not get cancelled. So we're just trading damage here. Usually in this type of matchup, whoever has more survivability will win. In this case, I removed this buff, so I have the upper hand. So now we're just trading damage until one of us runs away or dies, right? So you will see that because of this matchup, I'm gonna bait him into thinking that I'm almost dead. So I'm gonna run away later, just to get my stuff all off cooldown. That will be in a few seconds from now. We're just trading damage here. I also use the boost, which gives me more damage. Potion recovery boost. And then I try to run away. I'm waiting for my Weapon of Darkness cooldown. You can see that he's thinking I'm almost dead. So I popped my Weapon of Darkness and Silence. And he's running away because he's pretty low in HP now. And he's dead. Now let's talk about gears. Armor Mastery, Advanced Tips, right? For gears, you would want to, if you can, if it's possible, get all of the armor sets. And if you still don't have a legend set or legendary set, then I would suggest you get all of the sets just so you can switch to whatever content you're doing. Let's say you're fighting melee magic mobs, then you can switch to plate and cloth, right? Here's an advanced tip for those who want to level up their armor mastery. You actually don't need an alt to level up your mastery if you're a sword and shield. You can just leave your character AFK and just turn on your tactical command, and it will not disconnect your character. Unlike other classes or other weapons that don't have an active buff, they will get disconnected. But if you turn this on, you will not be disconnected and you will continue getting hit by mobs. One of our advanced tips. And as for armor mastery, which one do you want to pick? Cloth, plate, and leather. I would say it really depends on what you want to do. If you're gonna farm mainly melee mobs, then you can go for plate. But if you want like a general use armor mastery or armor set, then go for cloth. Why? Because it gives you movement speed. It gives you melee endurance if you want to target melee mobs. And it gives you MP recovery. Also, most of the bosses are magic. So you can tank the bosses better if you're using cloth, right? And yeah, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching the video, even though it's a bit long. Thank you for staying until the end. And subscribe, like my video, and stay tuned for more guides, PvP content, and whatever Lloyd9 has to offer. Thank you. Bye-bye.